outsourcing this type of work is really to everyone's benefit. And that's what I try to communicate with people is that, sometimes time off is as important as working in your business, and having that bookkeeper to leverage that is very valuable.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Palmer, and we're looking forward to this show. It is going to be a great one. Our guest is the CEO and owner of Corcoran Business Advisory Services, Holly Corcoran. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate being here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And, I was looking through your website and your bio, and it's very interesting business you have. So maybe let's start with a little bit about you and how you ended up doing what you're doing today.
Okay, great. I started a traditional CPA practice in 1991 and operated that, ultimately merging with another firm in 2013. And then I sold that practice in 2024. And it was the traditional, CPA attestation work, bookkeeping, payroll, taxes, and so forth. And towards the end of that practice, I decided and started moving towards advisory work. And so when we sold, I created this new firm where I will be providing business advisory and advanced tax planning for veterinary practices, deciding to really niche and drill down into the veterinary world. So that's my background as a CPA and how I got here.
That's right. Well, I'd love to know how was this something you thought about for a while? The veterinary connection is an interesting one. It's very narrow, and I'd love to hear that backstory.
Well, it is quite of one because I have a lot of connections with the veterinary community. I have worked with a lot of veterinary clients in my traditional practice. I provide advisory services. I have provided the advisory services to vet practices. My daughter is an equine practitioner in Pennsylvania and also a veterinary graduate of University of Pennsylvania. I also compete in FEI International Horseback Riding. So the judges for our sport are veterinarians. So I've come to know a lot of the terminology, and I've been immersed in the world. I've loved working with veterinarians as clients, and I have many vets as friends. So it just seemed like a perfect area to concentrate. And one of the things that was interesting is in through the AICPA, they're talking more about niching, and I really feel it's very valuable because it allows us to really dive in deeply into the industry and provide a lot more breadth of services with that specialization.
Okay. And, I'd love to know what you found so far in going into this niche.
Actually, I'm, just basically getting started over the last 6 months after winding down the previous practice. So I find it very validating to work with the professionals. I find veterinarians so very intelligent, but the business aspect of it is not something that comes easy to them, and they don't really have a lot of education and experience through vet school with that. So I find that the services that we provide are very valuable to them in running their practices and kind of bringing a different perspective to them that helps them grow and become better. An example I have is a small animal practice I worked with, was, in a sole proprietorship, and we helped them change their entity, and they went from $2 million to $3 million. She ultimately sold and is now retired. So I love those type of progressions where we can really help people achieve their goals.
Absolutely. So you love the industry, and you're very connected to the industry, so you know a lot about it from that perspective. But, winding down one, starting another, there's always interesting things that can happen when you're doing that. Has it been easy? Have you, had any key learnings in making this transition?
Oh, actually, it's been amazing because I started my practice in 1991. So a lot of the networking I did was in person, put up my hand, shake hands, talk to people, meet with people. And now the world is different. We're more virtual, we're more electronic and, maximizing our SEO and so forth. So I worked in creating the branding and the exposure that I'm looking to acquire, electronically. My practice is entirely virtual now, so it's different because I did have a bricks and mortar, although I did actually do a lot of commuting because I traveled up and down the East Coast. So putting those pieces in place have been very valuable. And I also authored a book recently called The Vet Advisor, Are You Running Your Business or Is It Running You? And it really helped me solidify the approach that I like to take with my veterinarians, helping them understand how we provide our services and also helpful business and tax tips and so forth along the way. So I've actually really enjoyed the process.
That's beautiful. Well, you're doing a lot of things by the sounds of it quite well. I mean, having a book that ties into the work that you're doing and, the whole concept being around veterinarians and was this something that you'd thought about for a long time, this strategy, or how did that come about?
Actually, I have. As I said, with the traditional practice, when I started, I would take on any type of business or client or so forth, and did a lot of individual 1040s, did a lot of businesses, and I found that towards the end of my practice that I really enjoyed the advisory side of it, and so I would say that probably over the last 5 years, as I was really starting to concentrate more on the advisory side, is where I started creating these goals to go forward, where my practice business partner and I decided to sell the traditional practice and then me to re-envision this firm as it stands.
Very cool. Now, being a CPA and doing the accounting work, I'd love to hear your relationship with other bookkeepers and referral partnerships. I would imagine in your current role, there's going to be a whole bunch of opportunities for referrals because not everybody is an expert at working with veterinarian businesses.
Yeah, actually, this is an area that I'm trying to open up because I do not want to do the transactional work, the bookkeeping, the payroll, and so forth, paying sales tax. I've done that before through the traditional practice, and really what I want to do now is the advisory. So I'm looking to partner with external bookkeepers, but we've had some really, I've been very, very blessed because in the traditional practice, I had internal employees that were, obviously we provide the training, but also we worked with clients' bookkeepers. So I've had a lot of interaction with internal as well as external bookkeepers, and how we work together and how we communicate is really key in making the end result of a good product to the client the major focus.
We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our sponsor. You know that feeling when bookkeeping just flows? When client data is accurate, transactions match up like they should, and you're not spending hours fixing errors or chasing missing information? That's what Dext is all about. It has evolved into an all-in-one platform that makes your life easier. It handles transaction capture, keeps your data accurate, and even simplifies e-commerce reconciliation all in one place. No more jumping between tools or fixing mistakes manually. With smarter automation and better insights, Dext helps you get everything right from the start, so you can spend less time on admin and more time giving your clients the advice they need. Join thousands of bookkeepers and accountants who've already made the switch. If you're ready to save time, reduce errors, and make bookkeeping more efficient, Dext is for you. Go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/Dext to book a demo today and see how it can transform the way you work. That's thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/Dext. Thank you for hearing from our sponsor. Now let's get back to the interview. I'd love to know what you think of, in terms of the ingredients of a strong and successful partnership when you're working with bookkeepers and with CPA. How does that look, and what's sort of the benefits of it, and what makes it work really well?
Well, actually, just a little bit of background of what I'd be looking for in a bookkeeper is, accuracy, timeliness, and consistency in reporting. And I think it's really a good partnership. And obviously, anything that we do as a professional relationship is based strongly in communication. So if we're both working on a client and bookkeepers are really there more on a day-to-day basis, looking at the individual transactions, seeing the periodic dips and flows in the business, either through cash flow or whatever revenue stream and so forth the client may have. So long as we maintain in communication, and I think that we know what lane we're in, and we know what the end expectations are. And I like to communicate with the bookkeepers that I work with and say, hey, these are the end type work papers that I'm looking for. This is the follow-up that I would appreciate. Or if you come across a new fixed asset addition, a loan, a new revenue stream, a goal that the client is talking about, because honestly, the bookkeeper is really talking to them more so on a day-to-day basis. Much of my services are month end. We want to make sure we have a good timely close, and then then I sit and talk with the client about following up with their goals, looking at where the financial statements have, and obviously looking at the budget and the forecast and see where we're going with that. And I think the bookkeeper is really crucial in that, because if we don't have a good, accurate set of books to be working with, I don't know whether I can rely on it. And I've actually had that instance where I started an advisory engagement with a client and, we have all the bookkeeping in place. And really, it looked okay, going into it, and then found out that there were just inconsistencies. We couldn't, on a comparative basis, look at things. There was missing information. So we really realized in reverse that we needed to delve into the bookkeeping more closely. So that's why I really want these referral partners, so that we can make sure that we're dealing with a accurate set of records, and that we have good communication.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'd love to, on the other side, these people that are out there working, and potentially bookkeepers are going to work with a CPA or tax accountant. What are some of the red flags potentially that they should be looking out, from your experience, that, if there's certain things that are happening, maybe they're not a good partner to have working with them?
Do you mean in regards to me looking at the bookkeeper as a red flag, or the bookkeeper looking at the CPA as a red flag?
The bookkeeper looking at a CPA. We often talk about, hey, this is what looks good for, this is what I want to have. But it's like, geez,
Right.
As bookkeepers out there, and they're potentially going to be working with a CPA, what are some of the red flags that you might? And now, obviously, it sounds like you've got all green flags here, but I'm sure in your travels, you found some real hot potatoes.
Right. Well, I think reputation is key. As I said, I started, glad handing, talking to people in the community, getting to a reputation in the community. We don't necessarily do it the same way now. We do it more through social media, LinkedIn, reviews and so forth. So I think going into a relationship, if you don't know the person, doing some initial background check, and also it's easy to look through the AICPA, the state society, to find out if there's any type of red flags against the professional, which you definitely want to know. But then as you start to work with a professional, you want to make sure that, one, that they are communicating back with you, because we can, as service providers, take on more work than we're capable of and let things slide, which I don't think is a good idea. Or it may be in a situation where, looking at the transactions, and maybe the owner puts personal expenses through, or there may be questionable transactions or an aggressive approach. I think the bookkeeper may want to just watch for that type of consistency to make sure that our goals and morals and ethics are aligned for this client. I mean, I've seen all types of different professionals,
Yeah, for sure. So interesting that when you mention, going up through the 90s and the way business used to be done, shaking hands and meeting people, greeting people. So many things have changed today. I mean, people don't even shake hands anymore a lot of the times. They give the fist bump or something like that because of COVID. That sort of, created a rift there. I probably see that coming back a little bit, where people are comfortable being around each other again. These things, it's amazing how long it takes to change. And of course, all the digital things that are happening. But the opportunity in that is really great. Like, you work with veterinarians, and immediately people think, oh, you're working with your community veterinarians in local areas, but you've written a book. It's likely that you'll have people interested in working with you from all over the United States, maybe even bigger than that. Have you thought about that? Is that the plan? Because that comes with its own challenges and opportunities.
Yes. As I said, my practice is entirely virtual. I do have a virtual office that's based in Pennsylvania. My state licensing is based in Pennsylvania. I'm also in the process of getting licensing in Virginia. But basically, we're governed with where we're physically located. But I personally, move. But I just have a central location. I do want to have the opportunity to work nationwide. I think sticking on the East Coast is probably the easiest area to concentrate on right now, just because of the time zone, meeting with people and, having effective meetings. And I'm a morning person, so, it's good to have the conversations earlier in the day. So I think that's the concentration that I'm going to be focusing on at this point in time, probably the East Coast, and then moving out. I will be attending 2 annual conferences for AVMA in July and AAP, which is, well, the first one is American Association of Veterinary Medicine, and the second one is the American Association of Equine Practitioners. So I'll be gaining some national exposure there as well. And I'm happy to work with anybody within the United States. I would not be looking to do work outside of our country because the accounting laws are a little bit different. The tax laws are a little bit different. I would not be an expert in that area. So I'd really want to concentrate within the continental United States, or, Hawaii's fine too.
That's right. Well, that's the thing. There's a massive opportunity, and you don't need, every opportunity.
Right,
it's really
right.
there's an abundance of it,
Yes.
and yet, you probably live in an area that has a lot of saturation of veterinarian clinics. If you live in an area where there's lots of that happening, lots of animals, then you're going to find a lot of clinics and people to work with.
Right. Right. And we've, set up ways to reach out to different veterinary clinics within the, just basically starting with a certain geographic area and working outwards. And we've been successful. I do offer actually complimentary webinars as another way, because as I said, to gain a relationship, I don't think anybody really wants to work with a professional unless they feel comfortable with them. So I decided to offer webinars where I have guest speakers come on, attorneys and investment advisor, HR, marketing, and so forth, to talk about key aspects specific to veterinarians. So it's kind of a soft approach to say, hey, here I am, come join me, have a conversation with me. If it's something you'd like to take further, then let's have a quick conversation to see if it's a good match. And then what I do is I set up a discovery meeting that lasts about an hour, where I would dive into the pain points of the organization and just listen to them and find out about their practice. And then we, create a path forward if it's a good, mutually beneficial situation.
Super exciting, and it sounds really, really effective. And again, another benefit of the niche is that you're able to do that kind of focused content work and provide real value because it's so specific to a particular audience.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, I'd love to know a little bit about sort of jumping back into the CPAs and, the differences between the two. Our listenership is predominantly would be on the bookkeeping side. We have many CPAs listening, I'm sure, and it's great to see them working together and work better together, because there's so much opportunity. There's no shortage of work to be done. And so that way of connecting each other, I've met many bookkeepers who feel maybe intimidated to reach out to an accountant or a tax accountant. What would you say the misconceptions are? And you've already outlined a few of them around the way you perceive them and what works for you and how it benefits you. But I'd love to hear more if there was anything else that you would share that you think are maybe misconceptions people have about it.
Well, I'd say that, as CPAs, sometimes there's a misconception as to the level of services that bookkeepers are capable of taking on. There is no outside regulatory agency, to be a CPA, we have to be certified by our state, and we have educational requirements and so forth. So what I like to see is a bookkeeper that's interested in always keeping up to date with the software, electronics, industry standards, and looking to continually improve themselves, and that they have a level of expertise or maybe certifications, like QuickBooks Online or whatever it may be. It just shows me that they have that ambition to be able to, continue to learn and improve. And I think we're all there. We all need to be humble, because you know what? We don't all know what we don't know. So getting to that point where we have an open communication. And I personally, I don't necessarily like to be approached on a sales basis, but if it's definitely somebody that's looking to provide an answer for a question related to my clients, I'm more than happy to have a conversation. I mean, I've been in that networking environment for many years, and I think it's very important for us to be able to create relationships. And that's what I'm looking to do. I've been researching bookkeepers and looking to make that connection. And I think that being in conventions where bookkeepers and CPAs are together, that's probably another area that I'm going to be looking in, so that we can get to know one another, get to know the level of service, what they like to do, what type of software they like to work with together. And then we can come together in, when we have mutually compatible situations. Obviously, it's a win-win.
Absolutely. I'm super excited. I think it's such a great way to look at it. It's a great opportunity. I mean, every single one of those clinics has the service need and is probably underserviced. If you think about where things have been traditionally with the relationships with most businesses have with a bookkeeper or with a CPA, it's under-leveraged, underutilized, and there's so much opportunity to help them be more successful in their business.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've seen many instances where people hire somebody to do the bookkeeping and they're not qualified, and the business owner doesn't have the ability to say, what do I really look for in that person to make sure that they're doing the record keeping correctly, or do I have the checks and balances in place? I mean, I was involved in a fraud investigation in my early career where a bookkeeper came into a business and looked around and started stealing right from the get-go. So it's good to have expertise, and somebody that is doing this on a day-to-day basis is much more knowledgeable than the spouse that comes in or the friend that comes in or whoever to do the bookkeeping as if it's an after the fact or an afterthought. That it's not worth it. It's so worth it, and to have that expertise and to have somebody that's knowledgeable in that position and can also be done far more efficiently. A lot of times, it makes a big difference.
Oh, for sure. And that's the battle, I guess you could say, that we all have with ourselves and also winning business, is that there's that case where it's just like, well, gee, I could save money, or I could do this myself, and why would I outsource it? I hear it every single time with every entrepreneur I meet. Not every, but close to every. I was just in a sporting place with my son, and one of the parents was talking. He's a business owner, and he didn't know I worked with bookkeepers and accountants, and he was just talking. He's like, yeah, I do have my bookkeeper, but sometimes I just think, oh, it's the weekend, and I could just do this myself. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't say anything because I was like, didn't want to get into it, but I was like, you're gonna burn up your weekend, like. Yeah, hey, number one, you don't like it. Number two, you're not good at it. And number three, you're doing it when you could be doing so many other things. You're already a super busy and successful entrepreneur. How much more successful could you be if you just let the pros do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing. Like, hopefully we can have a few of these business owners listening in. But you're right. It's really hard for them because, number one, they don't know. They've often had bad experiences. So this particular person might think, oh, geez, I'm paying this much money, but what value am I getting? I mean, there are people who charge a lot of money and don't actually provide a lot of value or don't communicate that value. So they think, well, geez, I'm just paying this money and what am I really getting for it? Well, then if that does come over to you, for instance, it's like, well, they haven't had a good experience and really haven't been educated around the value. So there's a lot of challenges, but with every challenges, there's great opportunities.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The business owner that wants to do their own work or prepare their own taxes or whatever it is, I think they shortchange themselves tremendously because, one, your time is very valuable. Your expertise is in your business. Go there, do that. And you know what? You deserve free time because you need to recharge. You need to be a full person when you go back into the office on Monday or whatever it may be. So outsourcing this type of work is really to everyone's benefit. And that's what I try to communicate with people is that, sometimes time off is as important as working in your business, and having that bookkeeper to leverage that is very valuable.
That's wonderful. Well, it sounds like you're doing some really cool things the right way. You're figuring it out. You've got a book. You have a very narrow niche. You're working with people you love. You've already demonstrated you can make an impact and that they value that. I mean, these are some things that our listener can be thinking of as well from themselves if they're not haven't hit all of those are a lot of key things that you've been able to do, even when you're talking about going to these events, right? You know where your customers are. You can go out and meet with them, and that's a great opportunity. And so I really look forward to our listener, potentially some of them, connecting with you and you with them to make some great things happen for your clients.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about if our listener wanted to learn more, if they wanted to get more information from you, maybe even watch some of your content, what would be the best way for them to do that?
I do have a website. Obviously, it's CBAS for Corcoran Business Advisory Services -CPA for Certified Public Accountant.com. So a lot of information is on my website. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and they're more than welcome to reach out through any of those venues to make contact, to find out more information. My book, The Vet Advisor, Are You Running Your Business or Is It Running You, is available on Amazon and will hopefully be on Barnes & Noble shortly. So lots of different ways to get to know me through the virtual world, or hopefully we'll meet at a local conference.
That's absolutely great. Holly, it's such a great story. You're doing so many things right. I just can't wait to see you just help so many different veterinary clinics and their staff and their owners. It's going to be a real treat for them to work with someone like yourself.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And if I could put just a quick word out there, you had said about bookkeepers feeling intimidated to approach a CPA or an accountant. And I started my practice, I was very young, and I talked to some people that I knew through the large firm that I worked with, and they said, you know what, go out, stick your hand out, say hello, and start talking. And it's not easy, but over time, it becomes easier, and it's definitely worthwhile. Even just creating the relationships with either virtually or physically in the community.
I love that. I love that you brought that up. It can't be stressed enough, and it's just a numbers thing, really. When you think about it, it's like if someone reached out once a month to one account, and that's 12 potential connections. If they did it once a week, there's 52. Right. That's a lot, and it happens over time, and they cannot do business with you if they don't know who you are, Right. So, and they probably don't, because it's the human condition. We're more interested and concerned about what we're doing ourselves. We're not out there looking for these other people. Well, you are, because you have really set up a strategic play to you want to find the bookkeepers, but right. Most are not. They're just sort of struggling away and trying to do it themselves. And so by reaching out, there's going to be some people who don't want, but there's going to be a lot that do. So Thank you for bringing that up. And that really is maybe inspiration for our listener to go and do that. Just get a list and start reaching out. Right. Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, Holly, this has been great. On behalf of our listener, I want to thank you for your generosity coming on the show and sharing what you know and where you're going. And hopefully we'll have you back sometime to give us an update how it all went. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You have a great day. Yes, you as well. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.